Alright everyone, so I'm still working on my weight setup. Not happy with how it turned out at the moment. So in the meantime, I'm going to be using a torque wrench. That way we can see the amount of force that I'm putting on it. And basically we can get an idea of which oils take more pounds before it starts squealing, doing damage, essentially, or stopping the machine. So obviously a better oil is going to last longer on it. It's going to hold more pounds. It's going to do less damage to this bearing and this race, and it's going to take longer to do the damage. So essentially we start out with pretty much cleaned up race and a fresh spot on the bearing. You rotate the bearing as you go. You can see a couple old spots, but you see it's on a new spot. We got new amp meter, obviously volts, but so basically you turn the machine on. The machine itself is going to run roughly about 5.7 amps, 5.7. So basically as you increase the load, the amperage is going to go up, which obviously as the amperage goes up, the friction obviously is increasing. It's doing more damage. So we're going to see how well some of these oils work. As of right now, I don't have a whole lot of oils to test. I have a couple that I had laying around. I bought some VR1 2050. I had a couple bottles of this left around that was basically just from my last oil change. This is generally what I run. I had some of this laying around and some of this laying around. So basically we're just starting out, but ideally 2050 is what I'm going to be focusing on, but different brands of 2050 to try and figure out which one is actually best. Everyone argues this, that, and the other, zinc, blah, 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 but what it comes down to is, does it actually test good? So you can have a great sales pitch, you can do this, that, and the other, but when it comes to actual race applications, it's hard on shit. So the idea here is essentially trying to find the best racing oil. For one, the best bang for your buck, and for two, what's going to make your engine last longer. Like this stuff you got to order online. This you can pretty much get at any auto parts store. So is it really worth the price difference? Not sure. I guess we'll find out. But I plan to do one video at a time, and eventually I'm going to start doing a comparison video where I'm going to put this in there and then do this and then show you right next to each other, essentially the wear. But as I said, I'm still setting up. I'm just getting started, perfecting things. I want everything to be repeatable, and I'd like everything to be a little bit more neat. Obviously I have a mess because I have a transmission apart, but I just wanted to start and do a video and at least run one oil and get you an idea of how things work. So, but essentially I want to go to weight setup. That way it kind of rules out me pushing harder, different angles of the torque wrench, etc. So that way everything is exactly the same every time. There's a few machines out there that are a little bit newer than this one, and they're set up a lot easier. I'm probably eventually going to get one of those, but this machine is a little older, but the idea is the same. So it still uses the exact same parts as newer machines. It works exactly the same. The only difference mostly was they had an amp meter that was digital, which I upgraded, and they have a nice weight setup that I haven't quite finished doing on this one yet, but I believe I can put the same type of weights up on this. So my first design I'm not the happiest with, but we'll see. Okay, well, furthermore, let's see if I have enough oil left in this bottle to try some 2050 Brad pen. So it really doesn't take a whole lot of oil. So pretty much takes about a cap full. And you can tell that it just kind of sits in there, and then you turn the machine on and it basically pulls the oil around to lubricate it. So then when you swing this over, it's going to sit on there. So it's going to wear on it, etc. Alright, so roughly about the same amount of amps. Varies a little bit here and there, but you get the idea. When it starts increasing and starts squealing, these amps are going to go up quite a bit. So let's see what happens. Try to hold the phone here. I don't have an official phone holder. I'm using my welder. So put that on there. I'm going to turn my torque wrench on. Put it on here. I'm going to get it to about right about here where it's level. So then right now we're still running the same amount of amps. We're going to start pushing on it. We're up to about 20 foot-pounds, about 30 foot-pounds, about 40 foot-pounds, 50 foot-pounds. We're at 583. At 60 foot-pounds, 589, 70 foot-pounds, and the machine stopped at 6.22 amps. So, yeah, I pushed on a little bit harder, but 74. It stopped the machine realistically around 62-ish foot-pounds. So then we go over here. Obviously, the machine's off. Flip this guy over. You can see a little bit of damage to the race, not too terrible. And then grab a paper towel here. There is the wear scar. Not too terrible, actually, compared to some of the other ones that I have tested. Try to get you a better angle on this here. There you go. But essentially, different oils are going to work a little bit better. So basically, this oil, pretty good oil, obviously. I mean, obviously, I run it in my car. I don't really wear a whole lot of parts, but every one of us front-wheel drive, ex-front-wheel drive cars, ex-street, whatever you want to call us, we have a lot of issues with the top rod bearing. Everyone wants to sit there and hide the top rod bearing when they do bearing inspections because it looks the worst. So people want to show the bottom bearing. It doesn't take the load. The top bearing is what is essentially taking the beating. So people show you when they do refreshes and all, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, here's what my bearing looks like. And most of the time they're showing you the bottom cap. And yeah, if you did the engine right and it was clearance right, it's going to pretty much look brand new. But what they're not showing you is what the top bearing looks like. And that's really why they're replacing the bearing, because the top bearing is going to look like shit. It's going to be worn through the coating down to the silver because essentially they're having issues where the oil can't handle the force that we're putting on it. So basically this is what I've done. I bought this machine in search to solve a problem. So there's multiple people out there running different oils and all. Everyone has their own beliefs. You're sponsored in this, that, and the other. I'm not sponsored by anyone, but there's people out there that run additives. I'm not a big additive believer, but I do believe there's better oils. So basically I've set out to put some money up forth, and I'm planning on buying more oil like I did with this quart. Like, I plan on buying some of the high dollar racing oils as well, and I'm wondering, are they really worth it? Like, is this really worth versus something you can go to the auto parts store and buy. So the idea is to make our cars last longer, be more reliable, get the most money out of our parts, and perform the best. I think everyone wants that. So basically, I think that pretty much sums up my first video. So obviously I'm doing these as I get time, so don't expect me to like upload like crazy videos left and right. So just hang in there. I'll be putting a teaser on Instagram, but ideally these are all going on YouTube. I'm trying to see if I can build some content. I'm not the best with the camera, but I'm going to do my best here for research, basically, and to try to provide people some knowledge that no one else wants to. So essentially it'll benefit everyone. So instead of hiding information like a lot of the people do, I'm plotting on giving you knowledge right here. This is essentially simulating what your top rod bearing is doing. It's getting pounded on. So if you have a better oil in there, your top rod bearing is going to look a lot better. It's going to last a lot longer. Your engine's going to be happier. Less friction, can ideally make more power. More power, you go faster. But essentially, my biggest thing is about reliability. I don't want to put rod bearings in my car every 15 to 20 passes. The V8 guys aren't doing this. I get it, our engines are smaller, but I believe that it's possible that we can double the amount of time that our rod bearings last. If we can double that, not only that, everything else is also wearing because your oil quality. So you reduce friction, you're reducing wear everywhere in the engine. Like when it comes down to, like, say, the top of the rod, your piston walls, piston skirts, I'm sorry, cylinder walls, etc. It doesn't matter. But everything comes down to your oil is your engine's blood and lifeline. So if your oil's shit, chances are it's not going to turn out that well for you. But obviously things have to be put together correctly as well. But when these engines even are putting together correctly at the power we're running, we're just not seeing longevity and reliability out of them. So I figured that I would put some money aside and do some research instead of just doing the cookie cutter thing, just keep slapping bearings in it. So hopefully we find something that's worthwhile and we all learn something and our sport moves further into the future. So, all right. Thank you for watching.